fine. I'm excited. I've got my teammate, my guy, my rock.
Hey, man. Left side of the line, right there.
Brother. Not only that, bro, you terrorized. I mean, you terrorized Mugs. They just,
I don't know.
they thought, they probably thought you was like a fire plug or something. Like, that you didn't look like the typical destroyer that you were, and you caught some of them cats sleeping, man. They thought they was gonna have, an easy day, and you just made it so hard on people, bruh. You was always in the backfield, man. They got screamed at. They had to get screamed at. It's like, what is this guy doing running around in our backfield? What this guy? What?
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was fun for you, Mel. It was fun for you.
Look, you got the studio, you got everything going on there. I'm honored,
Listen, Mel, it's my honor, man. First of all, I'm gonna kick this thing off, man, and I'm gonna say that Melvin is a Hall of Famer for our Warrensville Heights Tiger alumni. He was inducted in the last class. I was honored to accept his award because he was not able to attend, and I was truly honored and I was humbled by the opportunity to introduce to some and to recognize in front of those who already know you as someone who came to work with a lunch pail every day. You had your lunch pail, baby. You had your hard hat, and you went to war every day. I don't care if it was practice. I don't care if it was game day. Man, I don't care. You did your thing, brother.
Listen, that's because we were all together, man. It was just like one big unit. I just tried to do the best I could, but I have fun. I mean, I look back on high school. I still remember like it was yesterday. That's probably the first signs of dementia because the old days seem like yesterday because you can't remember today, So it could be a little dementia.
Dementia?
You go back to happy times.
Baby, you can't have dementia. And as important as the work that you do, we need you totally cognizant. But we're going to get to that. We're going to get to the work that you do that made you a Warrensville Heights High School Hall of Famer, Alumni Hall of Famer. We're going to get to that. Trust me.
I don't know if I deserve all that, but I really appreciated it. And, it was quite an honor. Just because everyone has gone through Warrensville that, I'm part of the Hall of Fame is unbelievable. So, I really appreciate the award. And I'm sorry I couldn't make it. It was just, I tried to, I had somebody that's going to cover my cases, and at the last minute backed out, said they had some personal issues, so I couldn't make it. So I appreciate you understanding, and I'm sorry I wasn't there. And thank you for accepting the award for me.
Absolutely.
I can't believe I missed my man, Mr. Walker.
Well, I tell you what, Mel, since we kicking it off, why don't you get a chance to say to Mr. Walker what you would have said, or even from the heart, what you will say right now. Why don't you send him a shout out right now? You got the floor, bro.
Yeah, Mr. Walker, man, he's in my heart forever. Growing up and, growing up the way we did, there wasn't a lot of, I wouldn't say not a lot of positive influence, but you didn't know that person who went to college, and, like there was no one in your family who went to college, and seeing Mr. Walker coming from Kentucky State, saying, here's a young black man who went to college and got a degree. It just really motivated me every time I would talk to him. He motivated me to keep going to be the best I can be. And, because of Mr. Walker that, I'm the person I am today. Never quit. Those 40, what they used to call them? I don't know what they call them, tiger sprints or whatever the stupid thing. You go from the 5-yard line, 10-yard line, and up to the 20. And then we have to run the 40-yard down.
They was also called Colorados.
Colorados, that's what it was. And Mr. Walker used to love those. He said, don't quit. And I think he I think he looked at me because if I quit, then maybe somebody else would quit. So I didn't want to let Mr. Walker down at all. And, just to see him dressed in his nice suits every day. I've never gotten to that point where I can dress like Mr. Walker. But, I remember those nice suits, the nice chain he used to have. He was my role model. He was, he's the one that convinced me that I can be who I want to be. Whatever I want to do, I could do it. So I want to say thank you, Mr. Walker, for inspiring me and believing in me and giving me the faith to be who I am today. That's what I would say to him. But I guess I just said it to him.
You just said it.
Walker,
Hey, so Mel, you kind of alluded to something. You talked about, how he inspired you, how, the things that he did. Also, too, son, you got a practice that is international. Can I say that?
Yeah. We, the work that I do, I love what I do. A lot of people don't understand it, but it's the best thing I do. We do surrogacy, and surrogacy is for women or for couples who can't carry the baby on their own. They have another woman who does carry the baby. And the amazing thing about here in the U.S. is that we have a lot of reproductive rights that we're not aware of. We just take it for granted every day. But in other countries, it's illegal to have a surrogate just because of a lot of religious beliefs that are over in Europe. So, these, we call them intended parents, or, people who want to be parents and they can't carry. Like, a lot of women are born without a uterus, which is, where the baby's carried. So there's no way for them to have a baby or to pass on their genes unless they have someone carry the baby. I do a lot of work with gay clients. So, gay with the passage of gay marriage, and, for couples who always wanted to be fathers, but realized they could never be fathers because they were gay. Now they can be fathers by, working with the surrogate. So, we have, I know the cool thing about it is that people always send me pictures of the babies, and when I travel around the world, I always make it a point to have, I call it like a little get together. But every country I go to, I have a little meeting where everyone brings their baby back. So I get to meet the children, and it's something special to see parents who never thought they could have children, have children. And actually tomorrow I have a couple from Israel, and they're flying back home with their baby tomorrow. So I'm going to meet them at the airport before they take off, and they get a chance to meet the little baby girl. So it's it's hard for me to say a job because it's not a job. It's something that I love. So when you're doing something you love every day, it's not really a job. It's just, I guess it's just fun. I mean, it's stressful, but it's definitely a lot of fun.
Well, you seem to be handling the stress rather well, because I see you have a beautiful family. We're going to get to that too.
This right here. I used to have an afro like about 2 years ago. I had a nice afro like in the 70s, but, it all kind of went away,
That's just nature, bro. We're gonna get that. But you have a beautiful family. I've seen them, in some of the pictures that you have on Facebook. Your wife, and do you call her Raina or Raina?
Actually, Riza.
Thank you, Riza. Early riser, brother.
Yeah, Riza.
Early riser.
Yeah,
how did you guys meet, man? How did you meet the love of your life, bro?
Oh, I have to tell you. So, I know, God always has a path planned out for you. You never know how that path is going to take. But one of my big disappointing moments in my life was I applied to Columbia for undergrad. And when we were on spring break, and I think we went to Daytona Beach that year, senior class trip. I remember back in the day, you have to use the little payphone and everything. So I called my mom because we were supposed to get the acceptance on April 15th. And she said, "Oh, no letter came yet. No letter came yet." So finally we get back home from spring break, and I got the letter that, I didn't get in, like really, really disappointing. But, make a long story short, in 1998, the director at Columbia University said, we want you to come and work in our program. And I was living in Los Angeles at the time. I love LA. I'm not going to come to New York. But it was just weird that, here in 1981, I wasn't good enough for you, but now you want me to come work for you. So they called me about 8 months later, called me again and said, listen, we really want you to come, work for us at Columbia. So I left the University of Southern California. I went to Columbia. And I thought it was like full circle at that time. Like, you rejected me as a student, but now I'm coming in here as a professor, So it's just funny the way life works out. And I would say maybe a week into me being there, I met my wife. She's I had a 2-year plan. My 2-year plan was, what, I'll check out New York for a couple of years and I'll go back to LA because I loved LA, right? But I met her and she's from New York. And once you're from New York, there's no such thing as leaving New York. So I was here. But yeah, from the time I started working, about a week into it, I met her and we've been together for the last 20 years. There's been like I say, there's a reason why I came to New York at the time I came to New York. Probably if I would come back in 1981 to go to school here, my life would be completely different.
That's a poignant point that you made, because we think that sometimes circumstances playing a cruel trick on us, when in fact things are being orchestrated in our favor, and we just have to let go and let God sometimes, or matter of fact, all the time.
Yeah, you gotta let God. God controls your life. You just gotta be patient and let Him lead you, and He will lead you to the right path, the right door. To this day, I have no idea why, leaving beautiful Southern California and going to New York, I had no idea why I did it. But now, looking back, the reason why, because I had to meet my wife and have the family that I have. So I've been truly blessed, and God's been good to me. And, we have a nice little church right down the street we go to. I live in a small town in upstate New York. But it's a beautiful town, beautiful family. So life is really good.
That's great, Melvin. That's great to hear. And a lot of your classmates and teammates would be glad to hear, what's going on with you, man. Because, for a long time, a lot of people lost touch with you. We didn't really know. But one day you popped up in my mind, and it's just like, you know what? I'm going to look for Mel. I just want to find him. You know what I'm saying? And I found you, and I was like, you're doing all these wonderful things in life. And I said, wow, his classmates would truly be proud to know that he is not only alive and well, but he's doing the darn thing out there.
Yeah, it's been tough, social media came out. I tried Facebook just for a little bit, but I was so busy that I could never answer replies. So I felt really bad because people would send me a message and I wouldn't see it for like 2 or 3 weeks later. So I said, I can't do this anymore because it's rude. I don't want people to think I was rude. So then maybe a few months ago, somebody said, you got to get back on Facebook for, professional Facebook. And so then I got back on Facebook, and next thing I know, everybody stopped popping up. I accepted a friend request, and I saw you. I keep in touch with Dwayne Bledsoe, Louis Bernard. We still keep in touch, but I haven't seen them in quite a while because I haven't been back to Cleveland. And I guess the last time I was in Cleveland was in 2008. My dad passed away. But I miss it. I always keep track of what people are doing from the periphery. So I'm aware of what's going on. How everybody's doing and making out. So I'm really proud of everybody. So it's especially proud of you, man. You're just like bringing everybody together with this format is amazing. Amazing what you're doing.
It's just like love, just like what you do out of love. I do it from love, from the heart. And I think you have to take time because not everybody understands or believes your motives. Sometimes they think that maybe I'm trying to hijack them, or I'm trying to catch them in a moment unaware, because that's what people do a lot of times with video is, and then once it's on, once it's live, man, it's live forever. But I'm trying to let people know that that's not my intent. That's not what I'm going to do. And I named it What's Good Warrensville, because those words are exactly what it's about. It's about what's good going on. If it's any bad going on, I'm not trying to talk about it. I mean, because there's plenty of forums about that. I'm just trying to talk about how we're moving the agenda forward. And Melvin, I got to tell you, you're What's Good Warrensville. You're a part of that, brother.
Yeah, I mean, Warrensville always be a part of me. I remember growing up on Harvard. So I was actually, my kids make fun of me because, Golden Dickerson, we lived down the street from each other. And, his nickname was Junebug. So I always say, talk to my kids, say, yeah, my friend I went to school with Junebug. They go, you had a friend named Junebug? So I was like, yeah, his name was Junebug. But, it's just like this memories of growing up, and, it was a great town to grow up in. School was amazing. The people were amazing. I always think about all the teachers that were there that kind of, led me down the path that I've gotten here. I still remember everybody. I remember, back at Eastwood, I had this phobia for snakes, and my kids always say, "Why do you've never seen a snake in your life? How come you don't like snakes?" And I was to go back to Miss Wiltrack, my 4th grade English teacher at Eastwood. When she was younger, she was bitten by a snake. So every picture of a snake, she had it covered up. And she's like one of my favorite teachers. So I guess I took on her phobia about snakes. So Warrensville is always with me, personally, as well as my phobias that I have. But for Miss Wiltrack, my 1st grade teacher, Miss Hammermash, then we go all the way to Mr. Winston, Mr. Walker, Mr. Hunter. This goes Mr. Duplay, of course, wrestling. But it was a part of my heart, always be a part of my heart.
Donna Duplay would be glad to hear you say that, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I think about him often, but I almost practiced back home. So when I finished my residency in Los Angeles, I worked at the Cleveland Clinic for a year just to kind of see what would it be like to live in Cleveland again. And the funny thing is, like, I remember it was January 1994, and I was reading the Plain Dealer, it was talking about seasonal depression. And I had every symptom of seasonal depression because I would start work at 5 o'clock in the morning and I would come home at 9 o'clock at night. And then if it was a weekend and I didn't have to work, there was no sun because it was always dark. It was always gray. And I said, I got to get back to LA. So I tried the Cleveland experience for a year, but I missed the sunshine. So I went back out to LA. I thought I would never come back towards the East Coast. And then boom, God's, next plan kicked in and brought me to New York. So
when we come back, we're going to take a slight break. When we come back, we're going to have more from Dr. Melvin Thornton, who is a foremost leader in reproduction and fertility. So I want to make sure that that's clear because I don't think we kicked that pedigree down. But he is one of the foremost, not only in this country, but he's known in other countries too. So we're going to come right back after this.
Well, Melvin Thornton, when I hear that name, I think of greatness. Athletically, intellectually, as far as his character was faultless as far as I'm concerned. He epitomizes what you want to see in a young man, in a person, in your children. Melvin Thornton, when I came to Warrensville in 1978, I think Melvin was a freshman, and Melvin had a heart of gold and determination. I remember Melvin playing football and on the wrestling team. Melvin was always preparing. He was always preparing. He had a saying that before a game or a match, he wanted to eat pasta because it gave him energy. And I remember him telling Louis Bernard the same thing. And it seemed like it worked as far as I was concerned because he never ran out of energy.
And we're back with Dr. Melvin Thornton. Mel, see you drinking your Dunkin' there. Is that your weapon of choice?
Well, yeah, listen, it's my weapon of choice, but I never drank coffee till I moved to New York. Weird thing, never drank it, never, thought about drinking it, but I moved to New York. What I realized is that when you have a cup of coffee, people give you a little space to yourself.
I never noticed that.
Yeah, you ever notice you have a cup of coffee, people, if they're going to talk to you, it's usually a friendly conversation. Or they just kind of say, hey, he's enjoying his coffee, I'll leave him alone. So, I used to go to work, and I always get to work early, and I turn my lights on, and boom, you get to the office, you just want to kind of get settled and everything like that, but people just walk in my office, they go from A to Z, and one day I had a cup of coffee, and the person walked in, they go, oh, I'll come back when you're done with your coffee. I was like, okay.
Light bulb.
So I started drinking it, and I said, okay, so now I have to have it every day, but
it does grow on you, bro.
Yeah, it was rough moving to New York. Being from the Midwest is that you say good morning to everyone. You say good morning to a New Yorker, they think you want something. They look at you strange.
Wow.
Actually, 3 days into my New York career, I was walking to work. I was on a street corner. Back in the day, there's no, I don't know. Did we have cell phones back then? I guess we did, but I didn't have one.
Nope.
Nope. I asked the guy in the corner, waiting for the light to change, said, do you have a time? And the guy goes, it's time for you to get a watch. I'm like, okay, this is what it's like to be in New York, rude and don't care. But, it took me a while to get used to New York, but then I fell in love with it. And it's just an amazing town. After, 9/11 was tough. I actually worked I was in the city during 9/11 when it happened. And, me and a nurse, we walked down to the site just to see if there was anything we do just to help out. And it was an eerie feeling because it was all dark and everything like that. And it was just sad because, it was just a sad day. But it brought a lot of people together. And sometimes it takes a tragedy like that just to bring people together. So I'm hoping this tragedy that we're going through right now with our, I don't want to get political, but with this tragedy we're going through right now with the person in office, it'll bring us all closer together and realize that we're all the same and we're all for the same struggle, and treat each other with respect and equality. And, when we get him out of office, things will be much better. But yeah, it's been a journey, as they say.
Yes, it has. We all are on that journey, all on that path. And I think it's beautiful that we get to touch each other's lives in a special way that we take forever. Because Melvin, your classmates, your experience here before you became, who you are today, you'll always remember us just as we were.
Yeah.
And we'll always remember you just as you were, and that's the beautiful thing, man. No matter what, you always just gonna be Big Mel, man. That's to us. I mean, you're special because you're doing special things and you're helping so many people in life. But to us, we just love you because you're Melvin.
Hey, it's like we were part of those 2-a-days. Remember the 2-a-days? Oh my goodness gracious!
Remember the greenhouse? Remember the greenhouse, brother?
Yeah, I remember the greenhouse. Run to the greenhouse. Griffin, Griffin used to make us run to the greenhouse a long time. He would always get in trouble. We got to run to the greenhouse.
Oh man, there's always some cat to get everybody in trouble. Got to take a lap in them heavy pads, and it's sweat, and it's heavy, and it's just like, man,
it's hot.
You listen to the coach.
Your equipment smells because we had to wash your own stuff. Remember that? You had to wash your own practice.
You had to wash your own stuff. And not only that, Mel, when we took water breaks, man, there was cleat mud and everything, grass, everything in that.
But it tasted good, right?
Crazy. You know, we're going to get into your professional aspect, because I think that we're going to educate along with, you know, this interview. But I think I want to reminisce a little bit about your experience in Warrensville, because I want to tip my hat to the Warrensville Heights school system. Because there's a lot out there that not necessarily is fairly attributed to the negative things that have happened as far as student achievement. But I'm here to say that we got a mayor. We got a mayor of the city who's a product of the school system. We have a superintendent who's a product of the school system. We have many, many, many successful individuals throughout this world. Yvette Nicole Brown, you know, I mean, a product of this system, high achievers who achieve so that we can all be proud to say that we're from Warrensville. And I just want to make sure that, you know, you get a chance to talk about, as a Hall of Famer and as a renowned individual in the field of science and medicine, to talk about the Warrensville Heights school system, sir.
Yeah, the school system, it's like in any school district. You gotta make the best of it. You know, for me, people used to make fun of me because I went to summer school. And people say, "Oh, you gotta go to summer school, you have to go to summer school." And my mom wanted me to go to summer school so I can get more classes in, so I'll be better prepared for whatever I decide to do, better prepared for college. And just by being in summer school and, you know, seeing the kids who were in summer school, it made me a better person, because I used to tutor people while we were in summer school. If you can imagine somebody in summer school tutoring somebody else who's in summer school, but it gave me a sense of purpose. Because your mom said you gotta go to summer school. I don't want to get up and go to summer school, but it gave you a sense of purpose being there. The teachers, all through my high school and junior high school career motivated you. But, the one thing that I realized, and I'll be completely honest, is that even though, I went to summer school, did everything, took advanced classes, I was still behind when I got to college. I said in my Calculus 1 class freshman year, in the first 2 days, it was the first class on a Monday, next class on a Wednesday. So this is great. Then on Friday, I said, wow, I already learned this in high school, so I'm good, right? And then on Monday, we came back. He said, okay, the review is over. Now we're going to go forward. And I was lost in math from that day one until I graduated from college. But it made me realize that you always have to work hard. No matter the resources that are put in front of you, you have to put the extra work in, put the extra time in, just so you're better prepared when you go off to, college or grad school and things like that. So no matter how good the system is, no matter how much they put in front of you, you have to be willing to take extra just to make sure, you're competing. I mean, because, when you're trying to compete against, private schools and, because I went to college, most people were from private school. They've taken 2 or 3 languages. And I remember I was offered to take French or Spanish. That was it, French or Spanish. And my mom said, you should take French. I said, okay, I'll take French, right? And that was probably the worst decision my mom ever made for me, because I worked in Los Angeles and did not speak any Spanish at all. So it was hard for me from day one. Like, my buddy gave me a card with 10 words on it. Empuje means push. No empuje, don't push. All these he said, these 10 words will get you through for the first year. And they actually did. So I called my mom and said, listen, that French you told me to take? Nah, that didn't work out too well. I should have took Spanish, then my life would be much better prepared for day one of work in Los Angeles. But, it just gave you the opportunity, but you still have to work really hard, because, the other school districts out there, they have more resources than we did. You remember going down to Steubenville? Remember that when the Cleveland public schools were on strike? We had to go down to Steubenville. They had this huge scoreboard with the bull or whatever they had blowing fire. And I said, man, this school has a lot of money. And here we come down on our little buses, you know. I'll never forget that game. Remember that game? That's when a lot of people got in trouble after the game. Remember that?
I do. I actually remember that we as young people were propositioned by adults. I don't want to say, I think y'all know what I'm talking about. We got propositioned by adults. So that was an eye-opening experience to be propositioned by adults.
They remember. Remember we were on the bus, we were waiting for a few. You guys know who you are. We were waiting for on the bus. And then was it on Monday? What was that film? The film session was on Monday or Sunday? I think it was on Monday.
It was on Monday, yes, sir. It was on Monday.
And a few of us had to line up for SWATs because of the activities that went on in Steubenville.
Yeah, back then that wasn't corporal punishment, man. We took SWATs, Mel, from the team leaders. If you was a team captain, you would hand out SWATs to your teammates, and we took it because that was the order. We respected the order.
Can you believe we used to get SWATs in school? That's crazy. You know, I remember one time Mr. Hunter, I don't know what I did, but Mr. Hunter offered me a butt swat or a hand swat. I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to take the hand swat because all the ladies got the hand swat, right? That was the worst decision of my life to take a hand swat. I'm like, Mr. Hunter, you can give me a butt swat any day of the week from now on.
Hey, man, look, when you first went back to school, it's kind of like when you're playing sports on the hard tops, like basketball or anything. And after a whole winter's layoff and when the weather gets nice and your feet aren't used to that type of pounding, so they have to grow calluses. And
right.
At first the calluses hurt a little bit, at first, and then you start to get used to it. That's exactly what being swatted by Mr. Hunter was like. Because he would introduce you just in case you forgot. In case you forgot what this feels like, let me remind you to look at the wall, not me. let me remind you. And he would take a few practice swings, and you'd hear the wind blow through that paddle that had the little holes in it. And you could hear whistling, as he would warm up, and he would slightly touch your butt just to let you know it's coming. But you're not supposed to look at it. You're just supposed to wait for it.
Yeah.
And once you got it, and the whole class would turn silent. Everybody be silent, waiting for the boom and to see if you was going to cry out in pain. So you had to handle yours, but you knew it hurt. Am I right, brother?
That was like, I'm telling you, I take a butt swat any day over Mr. Hunter's hand swat. That was the worst decision. I couldn't use my hand for like a couple of days. That's how bad it was.
It's like a firecracker going off in your hand. It just wait for it. Then the pressure builds up, and all of a sudden it's inflamed. But our parents was cool with that because you know why? It was a whole thought process of discipline. We knew that we needed discipline, as at least our parents knew, and they was all for it. They would sign that information at the beginning of the school year where are you agreeable with us, disciplining your kids in this fashion? My mother would, please, here you go, bro. So we lost the connection for a moment, folks. We're going to be right back with Melvin Thornton after this.
Melvin was a kind young man. His whole demeanor changed when he went on the football field because he was a competitor. We played in an all-Catholic league basically then with Central Catholic, Chanel, and others. And they had some awful big fellas. Central Catholic, Cleveland Central Catholic, had a fella by the name of Melvin Terrell, I think. Big Melvin Terrell. He went to Wisconsin. And they beat us that game, but Melvin was dominating his man, and Melvin caught Terrell on the sideline and it smashed him. I think the boy had to be almost a foot and a half taller than Melvin, and Melvin dominated him, and it made the young man respect him because he always had to look on the field to see where he was.
What's good, Warrensville?
And we're back with Dr. Melvin Thornton. Fixed our little issues that we had, and we're ready to resume. I want to get into a little education here, Melvin. I want to educate the public on what it is that you do that's caused such impact in your life. But I'm going to start with a source. You know, your sister actually wrote something really beautiful about you, and she put it on your page. So I'm actually going to read that and just kind of get your sentiment, because I think it sets the tone for the kind of man you are and why you went into helping others, because that's who you are. It says, "My big brother Melvin," and this is by Bridget Nicole Thornton. Are you there, Melvin? There you go.
All right.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me okay? Because
I can hear you just fine.
Right,
can you hear me?
Now I can hear you. You're going in and out for a second.
All right. So a message from your sister, Bridget Nicole Thornton. She says, "My big brother Melvin, or Mikey, as I call him, has always been my hero, and he remains my hero. He's such a nice guy and a wonderful doctor. Over the years, I've witnessed him fly into action to save lives without a thought or worry for himself. There are countless examples. Once, while we were playing in a Hoop It Up tournament in Vancouver, he saw someone on another court get fouled hard and crack his head on the pavement. There was blood coming out of that guy's head. Nevertheless, my big brother ran over to help him and directed the medics so that he would get proper treatment in the ambulance and at the ER. His heroism started early. When I was 5 years old, he literally carried me in his arms to a hospital when I needed stitches in my hand because I climbed up on a counter, bad idea, knocked a glass lamp down, and then fell down into the broken glass. He was only in high school at the time, so he couldn't do the stitches himself, nor did he have a car, but he made sure that I was taken care of. Those are only two minor examples. Long story short, he will always be a real-life Superman to me. And he continues to leap tall buildings every doggone day. That's all. Thank you, big brother." And that was from Bridget Nicole Thornton, your sister. Melvin, go ahead, Melvin. Go ahead, man.
You know, when I saw that, I sent her a text and I said, "Hey, somebody forgot to tell me I died. You know, what's going on? What kind of post is that?" But no, yeah, it was like, listen, it's I'm just proud of everybody in my family, and like, you know, she's an attorney. She actually went to Harvard Law School. My brother went to business school, and my youngest brother was growing up. My youngest, right, he's 30, 31 maybe, 30. So growing up, everybody thought that he was my son. So, you know, he's 30, he's in Los Angeles. He's actually, he makes movies, and he's won a few awards from the movies that he makes. So I'm not the superhero in this family. You know, both my brothers and my sister are, and the real superhero is my mom and dad. And unfortunately, he passed away, but my mom is still the rock of the family. You know, she instilled all the qualities that I have today in all of us: respect, education, just being a good person. So, you know, I can't take credit for any of that. That's all on my mom and my dad, you know.
Yes, sir. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. I feel the same way. So I read that because I wanted to get into your aha moment. because you've been doing all these things. And I don't know if you ever saw a movie. It was called Unbreakable. It had Bruce Willis in it and Samuel Jackson, right? And Bruce Willis did all these things, but he could not understand what it all meant. He had to have an aha moment, as Oprah Winfrey would like to call it. Aha, I get it now. The light bulb comes on. Melvin, what was the light bulb for you to tell you not only that you're going into medicine, but you were going into reproductive health, fertilization, in vitro, things of that nature? What was your aha moment, that the moment you decided that's what I want to practice?
Yeah, as far as going into medicine, you know, I look back on my life, never knew why I wanted to be a doctor. Like I said, that's part of God's plan, because there's no one specific time I said, okay, this is exactly what I do. I just knew that's what I was going to do. And, you know, going into medical school, I actually wanted to be a surgeon and wanted to be a neurosurgeon. But I think they make you go to medical school so you can learn, you know, who you are as a person and where you fit best to help the world. But, you know, going to medical school in St. Louis, you know, much different than being in Cleveland. And my surgery career ended for two reasons. Number one is that when I was in the OR back in the day, you know, surgeons were the nastiest people in the world. They curse, scream, throw instruments, and, you know, that just wasn't who I am. And then one of my surgery rotations, you know, you always encounter racism, but this was the type of racism that affected my career. I had this general surgeon. He was what we call the attending. He was supposed to be teaching us. And we would have these rounds with him. And my roommate, who was a year ahead of me in medical school, he had the same rotation. So he said, hey, here are the notes. I highlighted the things that are important. So before every meeting we had with him, I read the notes. I highlighted everything. And in the meeting, I gave the answer that I knew was right because I knew it was right. But he always say that's not the right answer. And it frustrated me. And so I said to myself, I said, you know, I don't want to deal with people if this is the way they are. And like I said, I love surgery, and I was giving up on my surgery career. And then my next rotation was OBGYN. And my first day on the rotation, a baby was born. You know, you're all excited to help deliver the baby and things like that, and you don't think anything about it. But the nurse was busy, and she said, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you hold the baby for a second? And I was like, that was my aha moment, because I was like amazed. Oh my God, this baby has his whole life in front of her. And I was able to impact from the beginning, you know, and I thought that this was an amazing thing. And I did the rest of my rotation, and the gynecological part, it was surgery. So I said, wow, this is the perfect specialty for me to go into. So I decided to do a residency in OBGYN. And I trained at LA County Hospital in Los Angeles, which, if you ever watched the soap opera called General Hospital,
sure,
the picture of the hospital is where I did my residency.
Wow. Okay.
And it's one of the busiest hospitals in the country, and we used to deliver about 20,000 babies a year. And babies for me, they always delivered at 3 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. And then, you know, the one thing I remember the most is that I was watching the NCAA tournament, the Chris Webber timeout. So right before that moment, he called timeout. They called for an emergency C-section. So I had to go do an emergency C-section. And I come out the C-section, and everybody's talking about the timeout that was called. Because back in the day, there's no such thing as DVR. If you missed it, it was done, right?
Wow, I remember that.
You know, I realized that, like, I can't be up in the middle of the night delivering babies for the rest of my life and things like that. And then when I started doing reproductive medicine, it was just fascinating, because it was it allowed me to continue, because I love the brain, and I love all the interaction of the brain. And, you know, women having menstrual cycles and having babies, all starts in the brain, because all the hormones have to work properly. So I said, this is what I want to do. And doing in vitro fertilization was part of that. And just, you know, helping, you know, it's for many women, having children is a given. You know, you don't even think about it, and people get pregnant. But when you're trying and you can't get pregnant, it's the most stressful time of your life. And I always tell people it's easier to take care of a cancer patient than a fertility patient, because a cancer patient, you say you have cancer, the first thing you're going to say, okay, we're going to beat it. When you're dealing with a fertility patient and a woman, she's had months after months of having negative information. She checked a pregnancy test, it's negative. People ask her, like, when are you going to have a baby? Not understand the struggle that she's going through. They get so stressed that they don't believe that they're going to ever be pregnant and have a child. So it's hard. The first thing I do, the science is the science, but the biggest part of my job is the psychology. Just trying to keep them motivated, keep them focused and stay positive, say we can get this to happen, because, if you go into something with negative ideas, no matter how good you do, it's just not going to be successful. So, going into reproductive medicine and IVF, it was the right thing for me. It's just fascinating. Once again, it kind of goes back to the beginning. Like when I delivered that baby, so I looked at the whole future for that little girl. With in vitro fertilization, you see these embryos and you see the whole future, helping people have, children. And, the most rewarding thing for me are two things. My wife always makes fun of me because I'm a Pisces and I cry a lot. So, you're getting older as the children that you helped deliver in the 90s are now like writing you letters saying, thank you for delivering me. I turned out to be a good person, right? And then you're getting your first college graduation from some of the first people you helped get pregnant. So that's you realize how old you're getting. But, every day is a different day. It's just everybody's different. You try to educate them and say, hey, look, this is, try to get pregnant when you're younger because it's more difficult as you get older. And I always told myself, having 3 girls, just like I never want them to sit in the fertility doctor's office, being faced with, hey, you know what, you're not going to be able to get pregnant with your own eggs. You may have to consider using someone else's eggs. So I'm an advocate for, it may seem weird because all a young woman's life, what they do is that they try to prevent from getting pregnant because we say you got to go to college, you got to go to grad school, you got to get a job. So by the time you wake up, you're like 33, 34, you haven't found the right person yet. And then the next thing you know, you're like 38, 39, and you either may not have found the right person yet or you just found the right person. But as women get older, their eggs don't. So.
No, we're here. I'm here, Melvin. Folks, we're going to be right back. We're going to fix those problems, and then we're going to be right back with Melvin Thornton to let him finish his thought right here on What's Good Warrensville.
But other things about Melvin that I remember those family values, and I remember his mother and father coming to every game to see him play. They were at every wrestling match. And I remember Melvin, I may be right, I may be wrong, but I think Melvin had 2 brothers and a sister. And I remember all of them looking up to him. I know they had to look up to him, but as a teacher, I looked up to him because of his character. And he had a best, I don't know if this is Melvin's best friend, but he's a very good friend of Melvin named Louis Bernard. They went everywhere together. Louis was a hell of a football player, but I think Melvin always encouraged him, and they always encouraged one another. But Melvin just was a all-around guy. He was determined. He knew where he wanted to go. I believe Melvin always knew that he wanted to be a doctor. When Melvin finished at Oberlin, Melvin went to, I think, a medical school in, I think it's St. Louis, and called Washington University. Maybe have to be corrected on that, but I think it was because I kept in contact with him. And from there, I would keep in contact with him. Then he went and did his intern at Cleveland Clinic. Melvin came back to Warrensville, and I became coach in 1993. And Melvin came back between 1993 and 95 and gave the whole entire football team free physicals along with every other athletic sport that was there in the summertime in the nurse's room. He had, I don't know if his wife was with him or what, but he had some assistants with him because girls were getting their physicals also. And he never asked for a penny. This was just something that he was giving back to the community. We had a plaque made for him, but about that time he had left. And I think that I gave that plaque to one of our alumni to send to him after all those years. But Melvin, when I think of him, I'm so proud of him because he had success written all over him, not because of something that was given, but it's because he prepared and he worked at it. Just like on that football field, he worked on that football field and everything he did. I wish that I would be able to see him again if he ever comes back. And maybe if he doesn't come back, I maybe have to go there to see him. And I think it would be worth it. Because those memories right there, I mean, those are beautiful memories. When you say Melvin Thornton, you're talking about something that epitomizes the type of students Warrensville had. You had Melvin Thorntons, you had Thon Anderson, you had Jimmy Evans, you had Louis Bernards, you had so many. And I think Warrensville can smile at a brother that came from Warrensville and made good, you know. So I say that, Melvin, if you get this, realize that Coach Walt still love you, still thinking about you, and I would love to hear from you again.
Right back here, right back with big Dr. Melvin Thornton, y'all. He was finishing a thought before he kind of got interrupted by technical problems. So we're going to let him finish his thought as he was so eloquently about to put it. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, you know, the biggest thing that I can say as a fertility specialist to everyone out there, to friends you may know, or if you spread the word, is that if your women aren't ready to have a baby right away, they should consider freezing their eggs. It's like a 401k. You leave them in the bank, they're in the tank, they're frozen. Hopefully you never have to use them. But if you do need them in the future, it gives you a better chance of being successful than if you wait. So that's the biggest thing. And you know, like I say, doing fertility work, what I do now with surrogacy is amazing because people would never think about having children because they don't have a uterus. So if you don't have a uterus, there's no way you can carry a baby. They would say, I'm never going to have a child. Or being gay, you never say I can have a child. You know, what's interesting is that now in the last 3 years, there's been a big change because now I'd say about 30% of my clients domestically and internationally, they're single guys. You know, single guys that say, hey, it's weird to hear, but it's, you know, you hear women say, I can't find the right guy. But there's a lot of guys out there that say, I can't find the right person to have a family with. I don't want to wait any longer because I'm getting older. So I want to be able to have a child on my own. So they go through the surrogacy process. So, you know, you get every aspect of life that comes in, you get a chance to help them. And, you know, the best thing for me is, you know, seeing the kids when they're born, meeting them, getting pictures, and everything like that. So it's an amazing thing. And I encourage everyone, if they're on the fence about what they do in life, that they should consider going into medicine and being a reproductive specialist because it's so rewarding. In the future will just become more and more, it will change, more and more technology. It's like a growing field because, you know, the first baby from IVF was just turned 45. So it's a very young field. And it gives people a chance for the future because now with a lot of, you know, not to get technical, but now there's a lot of things that you can, you know, if you have a couple and both of them carry the sickle cell trait, and if they get pregnant naturally, there's about a 25% chance that they'll have a baby with the actual sickle cell disease. So with what we do, we can actually kind of select out those embryos who do have a disease, and transfer embryos that are either normal, free of the trait, or just have the trait as a carrier, just like their mother or father. So it's becoming more and more like not just having a baby, but also making sure that you have a healthy baby compared to just getting pregnant naturally.
You know, Melvin, you mentioned something that's near and dear to my heart, which is those who suffer with sickle cell. I actually worked extensively with a group called Kincaid's Kindred Spirits, who, I learned so much about what they have to go through, and carry chronic pain and being misunderstood by doctors, thinking they're called for drugs to help them deal with the pain was something that they were trying to do selfishly, when really they just wanted relief. And I'm asking you, I just kind of discovered something about this nanotechnology, nanoscience, nanotechnology, nanoscience, with being able to deliver, to bypass all the barriers, the liver, the acidic, layers, the liver, even the defense of the brain, to deliver drugs. I wonder if nanotechnology has been something that those in your community, your profession, have even considered, or is it even possible to use this type of technology with reproductive and fertility?
Yeah, I mean, it's coming, but it becomes difficult because in the field of reproductive medicine is not government regulation, but there are a lot of ethics. So some of this stuff has to be ethically challenged. Is it the right thing to do? Because there's this technology out there that can help women, their late 40s, early 50s, trying to have babies with their own genes. But it involves, taking DNA from one egg, put it into a different egg. The science is there, it's doable, it does work. But then it becomes the ethical challenge, where is that the right thing to do as a society? So our field is advancing so quickly that many times we have to put a hold on the science to kind of say, is this the right thing? You go back to like antibiotics. If a new antibiotic came out, say for example, a coronavirus vaccine, if that comes out, that's great. Everybody wants to use it. But if we have some technology in our field that's, a breakthrough science, you have to make sure, is it right for society before we introduce it into, the practice of medicine. So it's things are changing. Lots of technology comes in. The biggest thing about our field is that a lot of venture capitalists realize that there's a lot of money to be made in fertility treatment because they see the aging society, people waiting until later to get pregnant. So they're buying up a lot of fertility clinics. So they're putting more money into the field, and that, it's good and bad, because you put more money in, you get more science, but the type of care becomes different because now there's so many people going through care at the same time. You don't have that personalized approach that a lot of people need when they're going through fertility treatment.
Yeah, Melvin, you seem to be, and I'm sure other people may feel this way as well, to be a man of consciousness, a man of ethics, a man of moral, a man of principle. And in your field, as you met with those surgeons when you were trying to figure out what you were going to do your residency in, and you had that bad experience with the surgeons, and how they acted, how they carried on. That in this field, it's going to break your heart. Sometimes your heart going to be broken. But at the same token, if you have a gift that you got to pursue, and you got to do what you got to do, I guess you got to let the wheat grow with the tares, man. It just, it's just going to be what it's going to be. Just think of all the people's lives that you've impacted. And I think that's how you have to think of it, Melvin. You have to think of it in terms of one-to-one impact, which each one you impact impacts others. So you change lives by helping to bring life, so that spirit or that soul can join a body and live in this world. And that's what you do, man. So no matter who ethically is doing what they do, they're going to have to reckon for that one day. But you just keep doing what you're doing and just go according to what your heart says is right and then you at peace with it, right?
Yep. That's the most important thing, is to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I did right by the world. I did right by my family, did right by the world. And, that's the way you live life. And, there are, in any field, you're going to have people, in any field where there's a lot of money to be made, you're going to bring out some of the bad in people.
Ain't that the truth?
What we have to do is we have to kind of ignore them and kind of move forward. And, and just, it's just hard because you see people who are profiting off of someone else's miseries, and it's sad, but it's the kind of society we live in. They sell a false dream. I never sell hope. What I do is I tell them, look, this is all God's work, God's plan. Some people like that. Some people don't like it. At that point, I don't really care, because it is God's work. What's funny is that, working with a lot of Black couples, it becomes difficult because we're religious people, and I'm sure everybody say, oh, you gotta go pray about it, And so there are a lot of women who come in and see me, and a lot of men who'll say, oh, if it's meant to be, it'll happen because God will bless me. And I say, yeah, God's trying to bless you. God gave this technology so that we can help you. But a lot of times, a lot of women of color are kind of like, they don't go through the treatment that they should go through, and they wait too long. So it's hard. It's just really, really, really hard because you try to help as many people as you can, but then there's some people that you just can't because they don't believe in the technology, or they think it's, it's not the right thing for them to do. So, and I always tell people, I'm always honest with them. And I said, I am like I'm a bridge. And my job is to get you from being childless right now to crossing the bridge to either having a child or being comfortable with the fact that you may not be able to have a child and be able to move on with your life. And when people look at it that way, they understand that, it's not meant for everyone to have children. I mean, there are women who've gone through, 10, 12 cycles of in vitro fertilization. And sometimes there's a different calling in their life to where maybe they should do adoption. There's a really, really wonderful program that's been available now for like the last 5-6 years, because when couples go through the IVF process, they have excess embryos. And typically in the United States, about 500,000 embryos that are abandoned because people don't know what to do with these excess embryos, right? So there's embryo donation programs out there. So, as we realize, people say, oh, you should adopt, but, the women who are going through fertility treatment, they're typically going to be in their 40s, and it becomes more difficult to adopt a child as you get older, particularly if you're single, if you're of color. So this embryo donation program allows these embryos to come to a family, and allows women who, may not be able to get pregnant with their own eggs, or, they want to adopt, they can still carry the baby. It's very successful. Success rates are very, very high. So, my wish is that people become more and more understanding of all the processes out there. And the other thing I can tell people is, about fertility, stop talking to your friends. Because you talk to your friends, you get different opinions about this, about that. It's going to discourage you. So do the research, see a doctor. And then once you see that doctor, decide what's right for you. Because, fertility treatment may not be right for everybody, but, make that decision. Don't listen to your friends and say, oh, just keep trying, or, it'll happen one day, and all these different things. And the other thing I got to say out there, since, is that guys, half the times women can't get pregnant because of us. The sperm is not healthy. And I don't know how many times I said, hey, let's get a sperm analysis, make sure your sperm's okay. They go, oh, I know my sperm is okay. It's like pulling teeth. You say, hey, did you do your sperm analysis?
I know my sperm okay, bruh.
Yeah.
I'm cool, bruh. I'm cool.
They all say,
bruh, let's just talk about her. It ain't got nothing to do with me. My soldiers is ready to march, bruh.
And then, there are women who go through so many treatments, they go through surgery, and by the time they come to a specialist like myself, and that's okay, well, let me see the sperm analysis. Go, sperm analysis? We never got one of those. And I explained to her, like, it takes two to dance, it takes two to make a baby, and half the times it's the problems with the sperm. And, you see women go through all this and spend a lot of money, and then you find out the sperm count's low. And, just because a guy has a low sperm count doesn't make him any less of a man. It just means that he may need some help to increase his sperm count or the IVF process to help him have a child. So just want to throw that out there to everybody as an expert to say, hey, if you're thinking about having children, it takes two. So make sure the woman gets tested, make sure the guys, you get a sperm analysis. And for single guys, if you want to have children in the future, check your sperm analysis, check your sperm count. Because if it's great, perfect. If it's low, now you can work on it. So when you do meet the right person you're ready to have a family with, you've already taken care of what may have been a problem.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's just my little advice.
That's a good point.
I don't know if you wanted to talk about things like that, but
of course, it's about education, Melvin. It's about education, man. We got to teach each other these things, man. And if you know more about a subject and you're willing to share, we got to know, because somebody out there that's listening, or somebody that's going to tell a friend who may not have seen the broadcast, but they're going to tell a friend, hey, this guy, this Dr. Thornton, he said something I want you to hear. Blah, blah, blah. That's the way it works, man. The message is not intended for everybody, but it will land on the person that it's intended for. And you had said something about those embryos, and I wanted to say that if I'm not mistaken, you can harvest stem cells from those embryos. And, you can use that in research for, it's like, especially in the case of sickle cell patients who deal with these blood transfusions and things of that nature. And by the way, y'all, I gotta throw in a plug that if you can be a blood donor, donate blood, because they need African-American blood. They have to get blood from other cultures, other ethnicities. And it's important that if you can be a donor, to donate blood so that those of African or African-American descent can have because they have to undergo multiple transfusions in their lives. And just wanted to put that out there. Got love for the sickle cell community, for real.
Now you're gonna get me in trouble, Rock. You're over there talking about stem cell research on embryos, man. Yeah, you can't say that. That's the ethical part, We don't do research on embryos. You can do research on what we call non-viable embryos that won't lead to a baby, but there's just not enough of those embryos to actually make a big dent. Because that was the whole thing, is that these cells that come from an embryo, the same cells become anything cell in the body. But once again, ethically, we don't do that type of research on these embryos. So that's why they kind of just sit there and they're abandoned, because people don't know what to do with them. And some people say, I want to donate them to research, but there is no research. They just kind of sit there frozen. So once we get over that ethical barrier, that's going to be the next big thing in our field, is being able to, because right now there's so many different things you can do. Like you can do, say somebody needs a donor, they can't find a donor. I mean, it's just hypothetical, but you can definitely do it where you can create an embryo that has the same, what we call HLA match for the donor that you're looking for. There's a lot of possibilities out there, but then the ethics become like this. You're bringing a child into the world just to help another child. So we're a growing field, and ethics is our biggest part of our field, just to make sure that we are doing it right by society. Just because you can do it doesn't mean that you should do it, right? So you got to make sure it's right for everybody.
Yeah, and that's all a part of education, because you'll get a little bit of here, you get a little bit there, you'll hear it from this point of view, you hear it from that point of view. And it's all about just the more information that comes out, we start to understand more clearly. We understand from the point of view of the sufferer. We understand from the point of view of those who are trying to make money from it. We understand from the point of view of those who are trying to use the technology to help people. So it's a whole thing that, as long as we're having the discussion, that's the important thing. But Melvin, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your time, for making time to just basically not only let people know what you up to, but to also give us a chance to connect with you and to just appreciate you, man, and just say thank you, just for being you, bro.
I appreciate that. I
love you, bro.
Man. I say shout out to everybody in Warrensville, class of '81. It's a great class, just like yesterday. Just remember, remember everything like it was yesterday. It was, I just want to say I wish everybody well and everybody safe. This coronavirus is real, so no matter what your political issues are, the coronavirus is real. I'm gonna tell you that from experience. So be safe, wear a mask, do all the right things, social distance, and let's get through this and be healthy and happy at the end.
Thank you, Dr. Thornton. Appreciate it. What's good, Warrensville? We'll be right back.
What's good, Warrensville? All right. Go Tigers.
Here just checking in with you, seeing what's going on through all this craziness right now. Shout out to my man Ryan right here, just came up, stopped by to see me, you know what I mean? All this stuff going on. I wish everyone safety, health, make sure you stay in touch. I got the Warrensville mask. They out of stock right now, but in a few weeks, I'll post it up. Make sure y'all lock in, get your Tiger mask. Make sure you stay representing. Go Tigers.